So double dose of dead.
Double dose of dead. I think no, it's the dead double bill.
The dead double bill.
I believe that's what I refer to it as.
I believe that is what you refer to it as.
The second time I've said I believe when I actually know it's the truth.
Or should it be double bill of the dead?
You're making it worse. It was like the conversation last night. We were talking about what we're gonna do if it was invincible or not, and I was like, I was pretty sure, but in my head I was like, no, we 100% agreed. Dead double bill, because Army of Dead was so fresh.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I recall hearing we'll do that right after Invincible.
No.
Yeah.
It's possible.
It doesn't even matter though.
We're both recalling it's possible, but yeah, exactly. Ultimately it doesn't matter because we're doing the dead double bill or double bill of the dead, like whatever you want to call it. Whatever works for you, you know.
Yeah.
Basically what we'll be talking about is two separate dead movies.
Two very separate ones. One is a remake of George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, and the other is its own new entity.
Although it has been referred to as a spiritual successor by the director, Zack Snyder.
Yep.
Who is literally the only link between these two movies because he directed both of them.
Yeah, he directed both of them. I think some more of the crew members from Dawn followed him onto this. Like crew members, not cast.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It's like, I mean, you got your own shooting crew, right? Like all the directors have their own, like at least for the most part, they have their own crew that they work with all the time because they know what to expect. They have an idea of what that guy's looking for, or that person, I should say. So, you know, it makes sense.
Yep, for sure. So, Army of the Dead is one of Netflix's highest. I want to say rated, highest viewed, highest streamed movies ever. I don't even know what the term is.
It's one of the highest rated movies for a couple of reasons. It's the highest rated Netflix movie that was released to theaters because it was actually released to theaters.
Yep.
Even though it was limited run, it was still one of the highest rated ones or highest grossing. And then on top of that, it's like the most viewed Netflix movie so far. But
yeah,
you know,
what was number one before? Was it that Will Smith one, Bright?
I think so.
I think
or Rona was thrown out. Rona in 2018, but I think Bright was the one.
Yeah,
and Bright was okay. Bright was all right.
Bright was okay. I mean,
Bright was all right.
It was pretty much what I figured it was going to be.
So without further ado, Army of Dead was directed by Zack Snyder, like I had said. The screenplay was Zack Snyder, Shay Hatton, and Joby Harold, with a story by Zack Snyder, starring modern-day thespian Dave Bautista as Scott Ward, a mercenary / father. Ella Purnell is Kate Ward, his daughter. Omari Hardwick is Vanderhey. I had a hard time pronouncing that one, even though I heard it like several times. He is one of Scott Ward's crew, as is Ana de la Reguera, Maria Cruz.
Okay, yeah.
Joining them is Theo Rossi, who some people might recognize from Luke Cage.
Yep.
He is Burt Cummings. I think he was also in Sons of Anarchy. For some reason, I want to say that, but I could be wrong. Anyway, he always seems to play like a douchebag. Of course, that mustache isn't doing him any favors. He does look like a douchebag. We got Matthias Schweighöfer as Ludwig Dieter. He is the greatest safecracker that's ever lived.
That pronunciation was perfect.
You are the wrong person to critique me on pronunciations.
I am.
You are, Mr. Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
I distinctly remember him saying in an interview, it's Keanu Reeves, when no one else has ever said Keanu. You were the guy. And you stood firm for like almost a decade. You were like, and now we all know it's not Keanu.
Yeah, and then I didn't learn how to say it till John Wick. So
Yeah, I think that might be it. Okay. We've got Nora Annaleader as Lily. One of my favorites. Hiroyuki Sanada as Bly Tanaka.
Yes.
They probably should have just let him have his own name in this movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. This is the funniest part of the whole movie. Tig Notaro as Marianne Peters. Funny for a couple of reasons. One, the character's hilarious.
Yep.
Two, her delivery is hilarious. And three, she's in the movie. She was in the movie, but she was filmed afterwards and subbed right in.
Yeah. Great chemistry considering she wasn't with any of them.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the things that took me out of the movie the first time around. Raul Castillo is Mikey Guzman. Huma Qureshi is Gita. Garrett Dillahunt is Martin, who was in the Mindy Project.
Yep.
And he's another guy that always seems to play a douche.
He's really great at playing douches.
Yeah, he might actually be a douche and he's not really acting. Samantha Wynn is Chambers. Richard Citrone is Zeus. Not sure how these alphas came up with these names, but that's fine. And Athena Parample is the queen. And that's it. That's all.
Where do you want to start?
I want to start by saying that I feel like this movie has gotten a lot of hype. I don't necessarily think it's well placed for the most part.
Okay.
And it's nothing against the actors or whatever. It's strictly because, and I said this in our Camcast, our group chat, Masters of the Universe represent. This is literally a big budget B movie. So much so that it was, for me, almost like I was very predictable. Like even when we get towards the end, I was like, pretty much the people that died, even in the orders, I wasn't really surprised by. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. By the way, spoilers, fat spoilers. Like I called David Bautista dying.
Oh yeah,
right,
I called it too.
Right at the beginning of the movie. The second that he had an estranged relationship with his daughter, I was like, okay, they're gonna reconcile, and he's gonna die, and she's probably gonna kill him. And check, all in one shot.
Yep.
Which was disappointing. Sometimes when you figure it out, there's that anticipation where you get to be like, oh, maybe I'm right. This one, unfortunately, I was like, okay, all right. So that's kind of where I'm at there. So overall, this is my personal view right now.
Okay.
Aside from the time loop theory, this was just a generic zombie movie that looked amazing for the most part. Looked amazing, had a killer soundtrack, but it's all like really just by the numbers for the most part.
Yeah.
And even the time loop theory was cool. I just wish it would have been fleshed out a little bit more. Like I know the theory is that what's his face? Vanderhooy is he survives, but because he's got the zombie bite, he's actually from a different dimension. Because every time loop creates a new one. So he's of one where he survived initially, but he was bitten because in what we saw, he was never bitten by Zeus.
Right.
But yeah, like aside from the time loop stuff, it's pretty, even the alphas concept, that's nothing new. Was it Day of the Dead? Day of the Dead explored the concept of smarter zombies that were grouping together.
Land of the Dead.
Land of the Dead. Yes, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, because that's the one that was directly after our Dawn of the Dead, correct?
I do. There was night, dawn, day, and then Land was like 20 years later or something like that. Land of the Dead actually came out like a year or two, I believe, after the Dawn of the Dead remake.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So after the Dawn of the Dead remake, Land of the Dead came, and that's what I'm referencing. So that's where we got to see. They didn't call them alphas, but they had the concept of smarter zombies working together. So it wasn't like the only thing that was actually kind of cool was that they thought to create a helmet so that you couldn't shoot him in the head.
I thought that was pretty badass.
That was pretty badass. But it was also one of those where I'm like, well, if you thought of it, why wouldn't you tell the rest of your alpha buddies to just fucking put helmets on? I mean, I guess so that he's still king of the mountain, but still.
I enjoy the film a lot. It doesn't.
I know you did.
It doesn't come near Dawn of the Dead, but it was just fun. It was just a fun popcorn flick. It felt a lot like a video game, like I was watching a video game.
Yeah, I definitely got those vibes too.
It had the beats of like levels and the mini bosses and then bosses.
Yes, very much so. Very much. I agree wholeheartedly. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the film, but I definitely didn't enjoy the film as much as you did. Mm-hmm. Especially because anytime Tig Notaro was on screen, two things happened. I was either laughing at what she was saying, or I was laughing because it's like, this is so absurd. Like, they do a pretty good job of not making it seem like she was superimposed afterwards.
Yeah.
My problem is I wish I wouldn't have found out until after I'd seen it.
See, I knew beforehand, and I thought it was so well that it never caught me off guard once throughout the movie. In fact, it amazes me that Zack Snyder is able to shoot her roles and throw her into this existing film already and make it look the way it looked when Warner Brothers couldn't remove Henry Cavill's mustache.
Oh, no, we already know that they wouldn't do that. They just wouldn't. They chose not to.
You know what I mean, though? Like, how does this look better than Justice League's theatrical cut?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either.
And I'm not surprised at all that Dave Bautista was interested in this because he's been trying to get a Gears of War video movie off the ground for a long time now. That doesn't
surprise me. Yeah.
So I bet you just that video game feel of this instantly intrigued him.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I also felt it ran a bit long too.
It is long.
And it felt it. That's the part where I was like, I can feel the length.
Once they're in Vegas, I don't really feel the length, but it has a very long, start off phase. Like, this is actually longer, I think, than Ocean's 11, an actual heist film.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah. And zombie movies don't need to be 140
plus
minutes.
Hours. Yeah,
they don't. I mean,
no.
But at least it wasn't 4 hours.
That's true. Like, at least you didn't have an actual intermission.
It's Snyder, so at least it wasn't 4 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, even saying I felt like it ran a little long. It's hard for me to actually put the cuts in. So it's just one of those where I felt it.
Yeah.
And I watched this movie twice, so it's not just my first impressions where I was like, anti-hype or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're talking Zack Snyder, so the direction of this movie and the visual of this movie is largely perfect. This is almost perfect visual. My only real complaint visually was he started doing this blurring thing. Now he did that at the end credit scene for Justice League, and I remember just being like, I didn't like it, but it was it wasn't that bad because it was at the end of the movie and you hadn't seen anything prior to that. So I was like, okay, fine. And then when I watched this one, and it was quite a bit of it in here, and I was like, oh, I guess that's his new thing, slow-mo fights and blurring.
He shot this whole movie with some old camera from I don't know, a really old camera that he loved. And then, he was a cinematographer on this. Usually he has a cinematographer.
Yeah, exactly.
So he used his own camera on this. And
incredible.
He brought this crazy old camera that apparently has this foggy lens or something on it that he loves the look of. And he thought it'd be perfect for a zombie movie. So he shot the whole thing with that. And I noticed it too. There's a lot of times where it's this is cool, but it's also really out of focus. Like,
the only part in the whole movie that I thought was really cool was when he was doing it to sort of drag out the first appearance of the Queen.
yes.
So then when like she dips low and she's all blurred out and then it just shows her face and that just sharpened, I was like, whoa, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But then after that, I was like, oh, okay, like,
yeah.
Titan. Okay, buddy, lay down. He forgets that he's like almost my weight in size. So he's like, yeah, I'll just hang out underneath the table. He's bumping everything. I'm like, I you know, you want to lay down, that's fine. Just don't hover like this under the table. A couple of like, you know, aside from like his personal flourishes, it's still a Zack Snyder movie. So it's like gorgeous. There's a lot of like long shots. There's some quick cuts, but there's nothing disorienting. It just looked really cool. One of my favorite scenes actually was, and this was something I hadn't seen in a zombie movie, was when the zombies are hibernating and they're just standing.
Yes.
And they're just kind of like either their arms are outstretched or whatever. Like, and what's her face?
Oh,
Chambers?
Yeah.
Chambers. She has to get through because what's his face? Martin fucks her over because she calls him out. She's like, I don't trust you for shit. You're gonna stab us in the back first chance you get. And he's just like, yeah, whatever. And then he fucking fucks her over. And so that entire sequence is her just trying to get through stealth style. That was one of the few times in this movie where I was like, oh, and then it gets into that cool, like just stab fest, just crazy, like trying to like kill them as quickly and as quietly as possible. You know, and then of course it doesn't happen.
I mean, that whole sequence was incredible though. Like she was friggin' awesome. Like,
it was so cool that I
good.
was like, even the second time I watched it, I was like, oh man, I really hope she doesn't get killed. Even though I knew she did. I was like, she earned a spot in the end game to die, but nope, no. Although she did get killed in a wicked cool way.
Yeah, like I was watching this with my dad, and he was all like, "Oh, she's still alive! Yeah, look at it!
Yeah."
Oh!" And then when she comes out of the window there, and they're all surrounding her, and he's like, "What are you doing, idiots? Go help her! She's not even that far. Just go help her."
Yeah, and then as soon as they went for her left arm, I was like, that's it. That's over.
That's it.
That's over.
Yeah, no, that was probably the highlight, I think, of the movie. Was that?
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Sequence.
I'd have to agree because when I watched it the second time and it was coming to that scene, I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Buckle up.
Buckle up. Yes.
I do actually like your assessment about how it feels like a video game movie, because it does really feel like a video game movie. And that could also tie into that time loop theory, because, you know, you see the bodies as they get closer and closer to the end. And then when they finally get there, of course, they all die too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Except for Kate. Although if this really is a time loop movie, what happens to her?
Man, she probably just goes on and makes some more bad decisions.
No, I think it's just looped right back to the beginning again. It'll be interesting to see, like, with the sequel set in Mexico, if they will go through that sort of time loop aspect again.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, there's a sequel, there's a spin-off, there's an animated series. Like,
yeah. Well, okay, hold on. There's an animated prequel, and there's a prequel as well, actually.
There's a prequel with
a live action prequel
with Dieter.
With Dieter, that's right. Army of Thieves.
Yep. Then there's an animated prequel.
Maybe that's the side project. Now I can't recall. And then there's a potential.
Like there's a huge list of stuff
in that, because Zack Snyder's already like, we know exactly where we want to go with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, and he said like the end in Mexico City wasn't by accident. Like he has plans.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, so he's got a whole sequence already.
And that, I mean, like, whether you love the movie or not, I'm so pumped to just see Snyder working with zombies again. Like,
You know what? It's
I'm really excited.
I do hope that the second one is. I think I'd like the idea of it taking the core concept and then expanding upon it.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really glad that I watched Army of the Dead first before I rewatched Dawn of the Dead, because I had a feeling that Dawn of the Dead was just going to be superior, and it is in every aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to really fairly compare the two because, like, Dawn of the Dead is a full-on zombie movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's it. So this is just like regular people trying to survive something that they don't understand. I mean, they don't even call them zombies. They don't even really know what's going on. And that's one thing I like is how they never, in any of these movies, no one goes, they're zombies. Don't you read comic books or watch movies? They're fucking zombies.
They're zombies.
they're always just, they don't ever make those connections. But regardless, so like, I don't want to make it seem like this is a bad movie even by saying it's a big budget B movie. I mean, it is.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a really good big budget B movie. It's one of the better big budget B movies. Like, as an example, is a big budget B movie that you might not think of until I say it. John Wick is a big budget B movie.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it with no Keanu Reeves and like maybe even a third of the budget. And you've got like 80s action flicks all day long.
Yeah. 80s, 90s.
Yeah, 80s, mid to late 80s to early to mid 90s. That whole section, 10, 15 years is just like slew of cheesy, like, what is it? Arnold Schwarzenegger and Raw Deal. You ever watch that? It's garbage. Yeah. Oh, is that ever garbage?
I watched them all. I mean, Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, Stallone.
Yeah, they're all garbage.
Like, I watched
this
all
is
of those.
Just, it's an elevation of this. So, like, yes, I'm saying big budget beef movie, but they're really good.
Yeah.
So this is a better version of that. The only other, like, if it wasn't for the time loop thing, though, I would say this is unfortunately, and that one suspenseful scene with the sleeping zombies, largely forgettable, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, the chemistry from the cast is really good, and I like that.
Great chemistry. Yeah, I love the cast, and I thought it was kind of shameful when Kate came along and got everyone killed, because it was such a great cast with a great plan. And I wanted to see what happened with Tanaka, right? Like, right now, it seems like he just kind of got away with whatever.
Well, not really, because
like, he never got his money, but
he didn't get his money. He didn't get the head, which is what he really wanted.
But he's still out there.
I mean, is he, because of the time loop? See what I mean?
But I mean, time loop is just like a fan theory, though.
Right, but even Snyder has said, like, he hasn't said officially, but he's like, there are definitely some clues.
Yeah, there's all kinds of weird shit in it. Like, one zombie that dies straight up looks like a robot. Did you see that in the casino? I definitely saw sparks coming out of the thing. I was like, what the fuck?
I actually watched a video on the time loop theory, and so like I mentioned at the end, where Vanderhey gets out of the safe and goes to Mexico. Well, he got bit, but he never got bit in the entire movie, right? So that's one part of the theory. The other part is, like, when he actually sits there and says, you ever feel like we're just keep doing the same thing over and over again, and we just keep dying, like it's a time loop? And that whole sequence there, and then they show flashes of the other dead bodies that are wearing necklaces and scarves and stuff of the main cast. And at first, my first thought was like, yeah, but I mean, that could just be them showing what he's thinking, right?
Yeah.
But then at the towards the end of the movie, there's an actual, I think it's like 152 or something like that. When they're in the casino, there's a shot of like 3 or 4 of them dead sitting on one of the tables, and they're looking at it like that's how far they got that time, and that's how far they got this time, and so on and so forth. So there's enough clues in there that I do feel that it's intentional. But then again, when you start talking time loops with me, I'm like, oh, let's make it a little bit more obvious. I want to see more of the, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Like,
especially after I just got finished watching Happy Death Day to You, you know?
Which was great, and I hope a third happens.
Yeah. Every couple of weeks I hear, yeah, it's on, and then it's like, eh. But anyway, so getting back to this, ultimately I would say that the action sequence in this are incredible, expertly shot, you know.
So good.
I'm still.
The soundtrack is amazing.
Yep, soundtrack is incredible.
Like Tom Hulkenberg once again. You know, like he's been a busy guy because he did Godzilla versus Kong and the Snyder Cut. Like he's been knocking out movies.
Yeah, I know, and good for him, and good on him.
Good on him.
Yeah, like I just I keep going back to your thought process about how it's a video game, and I'm literally like in my head going, I'm gonna watch it again with that in mind, and I bet you I'll appreciate it a bit more.
Yeah, like that's all. Once they hit Vegas and they were on the ground, I was like, this is a straight up video game right now. Like I'm taking over the characters right now with my controller.
Yeah, and it actually helps because, like, for me, I was like, yeah, like as far as zombie movies go, I mean, I don't want to say it's one of the better ones, but it's not one of the. It doesn't really do anything much for the genre.
There's very little zombie movies that really try things that are new. Like most of the time, they have that template and they stick with it, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like at the same time, they could take that template and do something really good with it, like Dawn of the Dead, for instance.
Yeah,
it's the template's there, and they use it almost verbatim. And granted, it's a remake as well, so it's a little bit more of a template than zombie movies in general. But this didn't really do anything to push anything forward except for just the mashing of different genres. That would be the only thing that I would say separates it from the rest of them.
Because I mean, like, there was that trio in the early 2000s that was perfect, and I don't think any zombie movie is going to touch that for a while. Like it was 28 Days Later, Dawn of the Dead.
I was just going to say
Dawn of the Dead, Shaun of the Dead, all back to back. And that those are like perfect zombie movies.
All three of them. Yeah, and I was going to say, like, so now you got those three. Does Army of the Dead go in side by side with those three? I don't think so.
No.
But then again, when I watch it again with the video game mentality, I might. But you're right. Like, and I was thinking about this literally today. I was like, yeah, 28 Days Later, Dawn of the Dead, and Shaun of the Dead. So we were in the same boat, and I'm just like, those are three like perfect zombie movies, and they're great in their own ways. Like Shaun of the Dead is fucking hilarious, but it's also, it can be scary.
Yep.
You know, and it also does some different, its own like spin with zombies, but essentially it's a zombie movie.
Yeah. Like,
so yeah, I don't know. I actually have been toying with my rating system for the last couple of days, and I'm at a three Chris out of 5 for this.
Nice. I put it at a 4 out of 5.
No, I know it's your
movies have to be really fucking good to hit 4.5, and then they have to be perfect for a 5.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, I will say, and I agree with Will on this. I'm done with the zombies sounding like raptors.
When he said that, and I was just thinking that, I was like, I got to bring this up before we stop. That was funny because it's true. I mean, it's creepy though, especially for the Queen. The Queen was creepy. Like she looked awesome.
Oh, the all the zombies looked incredible. The special effects were right awesome, like right cool. It's just, I mean, the vocalization. Like we go from like the first chunk of zombie movies, and they're literally like, because they can't vocalize. To now they're like hissing and growling like fucking velociraptors, and you're like, that's cool, but it's not. I don't feel like that's what a zombie would sound like, even though it's a fictional thing and they could sound like anything.
Yeah, I don't think they would sound like the moan either. Like I figure a zombie would sound like they would have a really dry, coarse, gurgly, just breathing.
Yeah,
because
I mean, like
just breathing.
The other thing too is that they're continuously decomposing as they're sloughing around. So it's not like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, again, we're talking about fictional characters, right? So they can do whatever they want. Like in werewolf movies, sometimes they stand up on their feet like men, and other times they're just really large wolves, like in Wolf, right?
Yep.
Or in the American Werewolf series.
Yes.
They were all quadrupedal. Is that what it is?
Yep. Yeah.
No, I just got the nod. I got the nod from Michelle.
Was that it?
Yeah, it was it. It was, well, because I know it's bipedal, right? So
yeah.
Yeah, I got the other nod. Right, I know it's quadruped, but is it quadrupedal? Because you're bipedal or bipedal, right? Oh, what do you know? What are you, a nurse or something? Anyway, I'm right. She gave me the nod. I'm totally right. Yeah. Now she's giving me a different look altogether.
Yeah, it's totally different now.
Yeah, it's a look like, oh, the fuck is wrong with my husband? Anyway, having said that, while it's not one of my favorite zombie movies, and it's only 3 out of 5, I am very intrigued on where this franchise will go. And it's also crazy that it's already like a franchise.
Right? It's
like, what are the cool kids saying? This movie's been out for a hot minute and it's already a franchise. That's the only time you'll ever hear me use that. I used it ironically. I'm never using it again. I'm kind of making fun of Michelle by saying that. Nah.
I don't say that.
You said it the other day.
As a joke.
Oh. Guess he's getting knocked out tonight.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's while we're still recording. I think that brings
it will not be while we're still recording.
But
because that's videographic evidence of spousal abuse, and my wife can't afford that.
But if she doesn't put her face on camera, it's okay. If it's just a fist flying from the side, no one will know where it came from.
I'm so glad she can't hear you right now. How dare you start spouting loopholes?
Lily was great in this too, the coyote. I thought she was awesome.
The cast in general was awesome, but yeah, she actually stood out for me. I love how she was literally stringing Martin along big time.
Yeah.
Making it seem like she's playing his game. Really, she was just fucking him over first chance she got, because she, like the rest of them, was like, fuck this prick. That's the other thing about the predictability too. So the second he was introduced, I was like, okay, he's gonna do whatever he can to fuck people over.
Oh yeah.
Same with Burt Cummings, Theo Rossi's character. He was another one where I was like, oh, he's gonna get it bad.
Yeah, but I was expecting him to come along to be like bait.
No, I didn't expect that either. That was a shock. But then when they start dragging him away, I was like, oof.
Yeah, that was good. The tiger was amazing, and the whole tiger kill of Martin was awesome.
The CGI could have been a little bit better, could have been a little bit more polished, but yes, the concept of a fucking zombie tiger was crazy.
Yeah,
and they called it Valentine, and it was part of like the sacrifice thing. I was like, oh, this is nuts. And he got it so bad, like, like at first
bad.
He's just getting tossed around, he's being toyed with, and you're like, okay, this is pretty rough. But then the full-on like half head rip off, and you see the caved-in skull. Oh, it's so gross. That's the grossest thing in the whole movie. That's the grossest thing I've seen in a long time, and I've seen some pretty gross, gory movies, and I'm not a fan of those at all. But you watch zombie movies, you got to see something, right?
Yeah. I mean,
that was just
gore's a given.
Oof.
So yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I'm definitely gonna watch it again. I wish I could own it, but I guess it's just Netflix.
Yeah, I know, like, and of course Netflix isn't gonna release it on Blu-ray because
fuck no.
Why would they?
Yeah, these are the guys that released the first 2 Stranger Things on Blu-ray and that said, nah, we're not gonna release the third.
Wasn't the same with the Daredevil? They did the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, first 2, not the third.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of which, I just restarted Daredevil again.
Nice.
Yep. First season down. Second season already.
I do want to mention the opening sequence was awesome, or the credits.
Oh,
Opening credits were so
yes.
cool. I loved how it
Yes.
showed like their first time in Vegas throughout the whole credits, and then you knew where they were.
Wait, how do we know it's their first time in Vegas?
Well, they
Are
said
now
it.
are you subscribing? Oh, like the first group?
The first group,
Yeah, yeah. Which may or may not be them in a
like their
time.
original, like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. The original group, yeah. But like I said, it that's one of the ones too where they said like that theory holds up because that could be them in one of the 3 or 4 times. They say like this is probably their 4th time going through it. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
You know, the next time I watch it, I will enjoy it. I know because I enjoyed it. It was just there was just enough things where I was just like, okay, well, it's nothing. It's the hype is huge for this movie, and that's where I'm like, I don't understand the hype for this.
I mean, the hype has come from multiple things. It's coming from the pandemic still going on and people looking for good entertainment at home, right?
Oh yeah, but I mean, like we did that with Tiger King, and look at us now.
Yeah, we're still going.
Actually, to be honest with you, I never should have watched that. I
mean,
never should have watched Tiger King.
It's coming off of like, you know, Zack Snyder returning to zombies. Like that's been something people have wanted for almost 20 years. It's coming off of like just last month, the Snyder cut. That was huge news, you know?
Yeah. No,
So,
he's just nailing it. He's nailing it, and good for him. Like they had some. Well, I mean, they're obviously still going through it, and they'll never really be done with that.
Yeah.
But it's great to see like a positive spin come out of this because because it looked pretty bleak, and like he looks like he's having the time of his life now. You know.
Oh, like did you?
And
did
there's
you watch...
still talk about possibly getting that Snyder cut going, or the Snyderverse continuing.
Oh,
there's
yeah.
still renewed talk about this.
Well, apparently, like Dwayne Johnson wants the Snyderverse to return.
Yeah,
he's like, you know, he's going to be leading the way for quite a while in the DC universe now, by the looks of it. So,
yeah, which I mean, for his character makes no sense, but okay.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I really don't.
I mean, I don't know. He's also playing Crypto in. You see that? Super. What's it called? Legion of Super Pets.
Yeah.
It's got a crazy cast.
Like, I know the cast. The cast is incredible. I wish I would have made notes for that one just because I was like, oh man, this sounds bonkers. So basically, Army of the Dead is great. You get a 2 thumbs up, even though it's a 3 Chris Heads movie for me. You still get 2 thumbs up because it is a wild ride. And that's it. That's all I gotta say.
I'm good.